Welcome back to AfroNurse Academy. If you're joining us for the first time, we're a team of registered nurses passionate about breaking down nursing concepts into lessons you'll actually understand. In our last video, we explored anatomical positions, directions, and planes. Remember how we talked about the anatomical position, where you stand facing forward with your palms up? We also covered those directional terms like superior and inferior, medial and lateral, and those three important planes that divide the body. If you haven't watched that video yet, I'll link it in the description, because today we're diving deeper into the foundation of everything we discussed. Today we're talking about cells. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cells? That's basic biology, right? But here's the thing, you cannot truly understand how the human body works, how diseases develop, or how medications affect your patients without understanding cells. Think of cells as the building blocks of everything we studied in anatomical positions. Every organ, every tissue, every system starts with cells. So let's make this crystal clear and simple. Before we jump in, let me give you a roadmap of where we're heading in this video. First, we'll talk about what a cell actually is and why it matters in your nursing practice. Then, we'll explore the different parts of a cell, what we call organelles. Think of them as tiny organs inside the cell. After that, we'll discuss what these organelles do, their functions. And finally, we'll look at how this knowledge applies to real patient care. By the end of this video, you'll be able to identify cell structures and explain their functions confidently, whether you're in class, in clinical practice, or taking your exams. This content is for educational purposes only and does not replace professional medical training. Introduction to cells. Let's start simple. A cell is the smallest unit of life. Everything that's alive is made of cells. Your skin, cells. Your heart, cells. Your brain, you guessed it, cells. Some organisms, like bacteria, are just one cell, but humans, we're made of trillions of cells. In fact, scientists estimate the human body has about 37 trillion cells. Now, here's something fascinating. Even though we have trillions of cells, they all started from just one cell, the fertilized egg. That single cell divided and specialized to create all the different types of cells in your body, from red blood cells carrying oxygen to nerve cells transmitting signals at incredible speeds. Why should nurses care about cells? You might be wondering, why do I need to know about cells? I'm going to be caring for patients, not looking at cells under a microscope. Great question. Here's why this matters. When you administer insulin to a diabetic patient, that insulin is working at the cellular level, helping cells absorb glucose. When you see a patient with sickle cell anemia, you're seeing a disease that starts with abnormal hemoglobin in red blood cells. When you monitor a patient receiving chemotherapy, those drugs are targeting rapidly dividing cancer cells. Every medication you give, every symptom you assess, every diagnosis you encounter, it all comes back to what's happening at the cellular level. Understanding cells gives you the foundation to understand diseases, treatments, and patient responses. If you're already finding this helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're building the strongest nursing community across Africa, right here at AfroNurse Academy. Let's start our journey into the cell from the outside and work our way in. The first thing you encounter is the cell membrane, also called the plasma membrane. Think of this as the security guard of the cell. It decides what gets in and what stays out. The cell membrane is made primarily of something called a phospholipid bilayer. Now, don't let that term scare you. Phospho means phosphate, lipid means fat, and bilayer means two layers. So we're talking about two layers of fat molecules with phosphate groups attached. These molecules arrange themselves in a clever way with water-loving heads facing outward and water-hating tails tucked in the middle. Embedded in this layer, you'll find proteins. Some proteins span the entire membrane. These are called integral proteins. Others are attached to just one side. We call these peripheral proteins. There are also cholesterol molecules scattered throughout, giving the membrane stability and flexibility. So what does this membrane actually do? First and foremost, it provides protection. It keeps the cell's contents inside and keeps harmful substances out. But it's not a solid wall, it's selectively permeable. That means it carefully chooses what can pass through. Small molecules like oxygen and carbon dioxide can slip right through. But larger molecules, charged molecules, or molecules the cell needs to regulate carefully, like glucose or sodium, they need help. This is where those membrane proteins come in. Some proteins act as channels, creating tunnels through the membrane. Others act as carriers, binding to specific molecules and shuttling them across. Some proteins are receptors, receiving signals from hormones. And some are identifiers, like name tags that tell your immune system, hey, I'm part of this body, don't attack me. Let's look at an example. When you give a patient an IV of normal saline, that's 0.9% sodium chloride solution, the sodium and chloride can't just freely pass through cell membranes. They need specific channels and pumps. The sodium-potassium pump uses energy to move sodium out of cells and potassium into cells. This is crucial for nerve function, muscle contraction, and maintaining proper fluid balance. Understanding this helps you understand why electrolyte imbalances can be so dangerous. Now let's head inside the cell, to the nucleus. If the cell membrane is the security guard, the nucleus is the boss's office. This is where all the genetic information is stored and where most of the cell's activities are controlled. The nucleus is surrounded by its own double membrane, called the nuclear envelope. This envelope has tiny pores that allow certain materials to move in and out. Inside the nucleus, you'll find DNA wrapped around proteins. When a cell is about to divide, this DNA condenses into visible structures called chromosomes. You probably remember from biology that humans have 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs. The nucleus has one primary job. It stores your genetic instructions, your DNA, and controls when and how those instructions are used. Think of DNA as a massive cookbook. It contains thousands of recipes. Each recipe is a gene that codes for a specific protein. When the cell needs a particular protein, the nucleus opens up that section of DNA, makes a copy in the form of mRNA or maRNA, and sends that copy out to the cytoplasm, where the protein can be made. This is incredibly important for nursing. Let's look at an example. When a patient has a bacterial infection and you administer antibiotics, many antibiotics work by interfering with bacterial DNA or protein synthesis. For instance, rifampicin, commonly used for tuberculosis here in Africa, works by blocking bacterial RNA synthesis. It prevents bacteria from copying their DNA recipes so they can't make the proteins they need to survive. Understanding this cellular process helps you understand how medications work and why they have certain side effects. Don't forget to like this video if you're learning something new. Your support helps us create more content for nursing students across Africa. Ribosomes are the protein factories of the cell. They read the mRNA that comes from the nucleus and use that information to build proteins, amino acid by amino acid. Some ribosomes float freely in the cytoplasm, making proteins that will be used inside the cell. Others are attached to a structure called the Endoplasmic Reticulum, making proteins that will be exported. The Endoplasmic Reticulum, or ER, is a network of membranes that extends from the nucleus throughout the cell. There are two types, rough ER and smooth ER. Rough ER looks rough under a microscope because it's covered with ribosomes. Its main job is to help make and modify proteins, especially proteins destined for export or for insertion into membranes. Smooth ER doesn't have ribosomes, so it looks smooth. It has several jobs depending on the cell type. It makes lipids, including fats and steroid hormones. It also detoxifies drugs and harmful substances. In muscle cells, smooth ER stores calcium ions, which are essential for muscle contraction. And in liver cells, smooth ER helps break down stored sugar to release glucose into the blood. Here's a practical example. When you administer paracetamol to a patient with a fever, that drug is broken down primarily in the liver. The smooth ER in liver cells contains enzymes that metabolize the paracetamol. But if a patient takes too much paracetamol, the smooth ER becomes overwhelmed and toxic byproducts build up, leading to liver damage. This is why paracetamol overdose is so dangerous and why we teach patients about proper dosing. Structure of mitochondria. Now we come to one of the most famous organelles, the mitochondria. You've probably heard the phrase, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. But what does that actually mean? Mitochondria have two membranes, an outer membrane and a highly folded inner membrane. The folds increase the surface area for energy production. Here's something interesting. Mitochondria have their own DNA, separate from the DNA in the nucleus. This is because mitochondria were once independent bacteria that evolved to live inside cells billions of years ago. Functions of mitochondria. The mitochondria's main job is to produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. Almost every process that requires energy uses ATP. The mitochondria produce ATP through cellular respiration. In simple terms, they take glucose and oxygen and convert it into ATP, carbon dioxide, and water. Different cells have different numbers of mitochondria depending on their energy needs. Muscle cells, especially heart muscle cells, have thousands of mitochondria because they need lots of energy. Red blood cells have no mitochondria at all because they're specialized just for carrying oxygen. Here's a clinical example. When a patient has a heart attack, blood flow to part of the heart muscle is blocked. Without oxygen, the mitochondria in those heart muscle cells can't produce ATP. Without ATP, the cells can't maintain their normal functions and they begin to die. This is why restoring blood flow quickly is so critical. Every minute without oxygen means more mitochondria failing and more heart cells dying. Understanding this helps you understand the urgency of cardiac emergencies. Join our AfroNurse Academy family by hitting that subscribe button. We're here to help you succeed in your nursing journey.
Lysosomes, the cleanup crew. Lysosomes are membrane-bound sacs filled with digestive enzymes. These enzymes can break down proteins, fats, and even old, worn-out cell parts. Lysosomes are like the recycling and waste disposal system of the cell. When a white blood cell engulfs a bacterium, that bacterium ends up in a sac inside the cell. A lysosome fuses with that sac and releases its enzymes, breaking down the bacterium. The useful components are recycled and the waste is expelled. The Golgi apparatus, the shipping department. The Golgi apparatus looks like a stack of flattened sacs. It receives proteins from the ER, modifies them further, sorts them, and packages them for their final destinations. Think of the Golgi as the post office of the cell. It receives packages, labels them, and sends them where they need to go. Cytoskeleton, the cell's framework. The cytoskeleton is a network of protein fibers that gives the cell its shape and enables movement. It's like the skeleton and muscles of the cell. For example, white blood cells use their cytoskeleton to move towards sites of infection.
When you see pus in an infected wound, that's mostly dead white blood cells that move to that site using their cytoskeleton. Cell specialization. Now that we understand the parts of a cell, let's talk about specialization. Remember, we have trillions of cells, but they're not all the same. They specialize. A red blood cell is shaped like a disc and filled with hemoglobin to carry oxygen, but it has no nucleus. A nerve cell has long extensions to transmit electrical signals. A muscle cell is packed with contractile proteins and mitochondria for energy. Each cell type has the same DNA, but different genes are turned on or off to create these specialized types. This specialization allows cells to form tissues, which brings us perfectly to our next topic that we'll cover in the next video: tissues, their types and functions. Understanding disease at the cellular level. Understanding normal cell function also helps you understand disease. Many diseases start at the cellular level. Cancer happens when cells lose control of cell division and multiply uncontrollably. Diabetes type 1 involves destruction of insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. Diabetes type 2 involves cells becoming resistant to insulin signals, often due to problems with receptors on cell membranes. Sickle cell disease, which is particularly relevant here in Africa, involves a mutation that causes red blood cells to become sickle-shaped, leading to pain and organ damage. Let me quickly summarize what we've covered today. We explored what a cell is and why it matters for nursing. We discussed the cell membrane, which controls what enters and exits. We looked at the nucleus, the control center with DNA. We examined ribosomes and the endoplasmic reticulum for protein production. We learned about mitochondria, the powerhouse producing energy, and we touched on lysosomes, the Golgi apparatus, and the cytoskeleton. Most importantly, we connected these structures to real nursing practice. In our next video, we'll be covering tissues, their types and functions. We'll explore how cells come together to form epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. It's going to build perfectly on what we learned today. Here at AfroNurse Academy, we're committed to making complex nursing concepts simple and accessible. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Share this video with your classmates. Let's build the strongest nursing community together. Check out our full Anatomy and Physiology playlist in the description. We're taking you through this entire course step by step, and we're here with you every step of the way. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Keep studying, keep growing, and remember, you've got this.